Did you know that democracy is over? You did? Oh, I guess I'm late to the punch. As said, an appeals court is effectively overturning an election in North Carolina. A Republican very narrowly lost the state Supreme Court race back in November, and very, very narrowly. I think less than 1,000 votes. Less than 1,000. Does it say here? I think it was like 700 and something. Yeah, like a very, very narrow race. 744 thereabouts. Yeah. In a prolonged legal battle over a North Carolina Supreme Court seat, a state appeals court panel ruled on Friday that tens of thousands of voters must promptly verify their eligibility or have their ballots thrown out. They are mandating 65,000 people prove their voter eligibility completely baselessly, with 2 weeks to do so, for an election that took place 5 months ago. 5, 6? How is this legal? I don't know. Ask the court. Yeah, we didn't like the results, so vote again. The ruling was a win for Judge Jefferson Griffin, a Republican who narrowly lost the election in November and challenged the result. His opponent, Justice Allison Riggs, is one of two Democrats in the 7-member Supreme Court. The case has tested the boundaries of post-election litigation and drawn widespread criticism. Yeah, so keep in mind, there is no proof has been submitted that any voter fraud took place. There is no, like, again, as is the case with literally all voting in a federal election, they test your voter ballot against the pre-existing registry of eligible voters. The only proof they have is that they didn't agree with the result. Judge Griffin's legal argument centers on a claim that about 65,000 people who cast their ballots in the election were ineligible to vote, mostly because they did not provide proof of identity, either the last 4 digits of a social security number or a driver's license number when they registered. There is evidence in court filings, however, that many of these voters did provide that information, but for several reasons, name changes after marriage, key punching mistakes, they never appeared in the database. No proof whatsoever of fraud. This is just a standard, like, we are going to arbitrarily determine these votes are suspicious. This is just a test. We'll see if this continues in other GOP-led states. Oh, 100%. Yeah, they will never willingly give power again. The voters in question should be allowed a period of 15 business days after notice to cure their defective registrations. 15 days. Is it possible they've employed some strategy to ensure that most of these 65K people voted Democrat? I mean, you have the answer right here, right? One of the reasons why these 65,000 people are supposedly suspicious is because of name changes after marriage, i.e., they're women. Women shifted or are quite a bit to the left of men in or they were in the federal election, as is so often the case. That's enough right there. We're talking about a difference of 744 votes. You only need like a percentage point shift in the participation to change the results. This is almost, unless something happens, this is almost certainly going to lead to an upturning of the election result. The majority on the panel also wrote that, quote, never residence voters, those who have never lived in North Carolina but are registered to vote there, should have their ballots tossed out because they were ineligible to cast them. These voters typically include children of military parents who turn 18 while the family is stationed abroad, or missionaries, according to voting rights experts. A bipartisan state law passed in 2011 says such people are allowed to vote in North Carolina, but the ruling on Friday disagreed, citing the state constitution. Well, literally, a law explicitly, a recently passed law, says, oh, well, that's allowed. We're specifically allowing for this. But now they're saying no. It's unambiguously illegal. But who's going to stop them? Justice Riggs, in a statement on Friday after the decision, said her legal team, quote, will be promptly appealing this deeply misinformed decision that threatens to disenfranchise more than 65,000 lawful voters and sets a dangerous precedent, allowing disappointed politicians to thwart the will of the people. Yeah, but if this gets appealed, who does it get appealed to, right? If it's currently in an appeals court, the next step would be the North Carolina State Supreme Court, which is 2-5 in favor of Republicans. That's what they tried to avoid by making it federal, but it got thrown back. North Carolina governor is a Democrat. Yeah, but he doesn't have anything to do with this. He can shine light on it, but it won't stop the decision-making of the... Vosh, I'm Canadian, so maybe I don't get this. It seems like every time the Constitution is used in modern politics, it causes problems. What good does it even do? Well, they're referring to the state Constitution, but like in practice, the Constitution is just like a document that can be interpreted at the whim of people in power, and the people in power here are Republicans. Well, I shouldn't say that because Democrats are massive pussies who never do anything good. So it's more like the Constitution is a binding set of limitations placed upon Democrats, and for Republicans, it's an infinite justification for anything they want to do. That'd be a better way of putting it. For the Democrats, the Constitution is the Bible saying thou shalt not wear mixed fabrics, and for the Republicans, the Constitution is the Bible saying, like, Lamau, God wants you to enslave black people and do the Crusades or something, Lamau. Like, whether or not you're following it by its rules, it's kind of irrelevant in the face of, like, people acting in obvious bad faith. I really, really hope that some miracle happens to stop this, but I don't know how it's going to. I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know. We all hope for miracles? Yeah. Let me get a little blurb here. Fox Carolina News. Please, North Carolina. Fox, tell me what to think. Give me hope.
A first alert now out of North Carolina, where the state court of appeals ruled in favor of a candidate in a tight Supreme Court race challenging more than 65,000 ballots.
The judges are now giving voters 15 days to provide missing information in order for their ballots to count. Now, this all started after Election Day in November, and after 2 recounts. The State Board of Elections determined that Democratic candidate Justice
Alex... Oh, right. My apologies. Yeah, this is after 2 recounts. I'm so sorry. I forgot. I completely forgot. I buried the lead on this one. They are trying so hard to overturn the result of this election that they've already done multiple recounts. Just like an infinite, like they can just do it forever. Like just try over and over and over and over until eventually their guy wins. And then surprisingly, there will be no more recounts. Shockingly, they will suddenly decide that everything is fine and they don't need recounts once they win.
Allison Riggs defeated Republican State Appeals Court Judge Jefferson Griffin by just 734 votes.
34.
Out of 5.5 million casts. Now, Griffin sued and is challenging more than 65,000 ballots. Now, Griffin's legal team is going after ballots for various reasons. In some cases, their driver's license or social security number may be missing from the state elections database. In other cases, their names may have changed or are spelled differently, or they may have registered to vote before certain documents were required. He's also challenging overseas and military voters who are not required to show photo ID. Now, Griffin claims...
Could they pull this in Wisconsin too? No, Crawford won by 10 points. There's essentially nothing they can do about it there. Also, Wisconsin State Supreme Court now has a Democratic majority, so any case like this, any attempt to overturn the results of the election would be appealed up to them, and they would strike it down. But remember, there is a direct correlation between the disempowerment of Republicans in a state and how Democratic that state is. The more Republican the state, the less Democratic it is. It's like a 1-to-1, man. By every metric of like fair Democratic representation, the consistency of the system, voter enfranchisement, the more Republican the state is, the worse it gets.
Claims all these votes may have been fraudulent and should be thrown out. Now, the legal fight has been making its way through the courts for months.
Are any people in the GOP speaking out against this? No. What do you expect?
Election officials say overseas voters are not required by state law to show photo ID. But Griffin's attorney said the State Board of Elections misinterpreted that law. Meanwhile, Riggs's lawyer says those voters followed the rules that were in place at the time. Now, 2 weeks ago, the State Court of Appeals heard arguments in this case. And since Griffin is on the court, he recused himself. Today, in a 2-to-1 ruling, they sided with Griffin, saying the state election board should not have counted the ballots. The court is giving voters with challenged ballots 15 days to provide missing information and photo IDs. The court did rule that ballots from overseas voters who have never lived in the U.S. should be thrown out. Now, the State Board of Elections says that the ruling will likely be appealed and that the order has not taken effect. The board says if and when the order is in effect, they will give instructions to affected voters on how to ensure that their ballots are counted.
But if it gets appealed, it goes to the state Supreme Court.
And we spoke with Dr. Chris Cooper today at Western Carolina University, who says this entire situation is unprecedented.
It's such an unusual situation. We're having this conversation, obviously, in early April about an election that took place in November. So I still continue to find myself shocked.
How is this not illegal? It is. This is unambiguously a violation of their of North Carolina's election laws. It just doesn't matter because the law is interpreted by the courts. What are you going to do about it?
That we're even having the conversation in the first place.
Now, we reached out to Griffin's campaign. They sent us a statement saying, in part, quote, today's ruling affirms that the State Board of Elections failed to apply the laws that govern our elections. We stand by the process of allowing the State Board of a second chance to do its job and ensure that only eligible voters cast ballots in our elections. This is a win for the citizens of North Carolina. Justice Allison Riggs issued a statement saying that she plans to appeal. She said, in part, quote, North Carolinians elected me to keep my seat, and I swore an oath to the Constitution and the rule of law. So I will continue to stand up for the rights of voters in this state and stand in the way of those who would take power from the people.
YouTube auto recommend check. Soul of Cinder, Dark Souls 3 OST, based. Politics, 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 politics. Not just bikes, based. Bernie Sanders, based. Vlogbrothers, based. I don't know if I know Fairson, but that's Warhammer. And politics. I've been audited. You have to watch the Bernie video? No, I don't. I don't know, guys. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. We'll see how it goes. But again, I feel like it would take a miracle to produce a good result here. It goes to the federal court after Supreme? Not necessarily. There's not a perfect or guaranteed transposition from state to federal if it's not considered to be a federal jurisdiction. And in this case, it's already been determined to not be federally relevant.